So, how many of you have been out there in the wilds and had that feeling of being watched or even stalked, only for you to look around the area and nothing at all seems out of place, but you just get that feeling that something is there with you? Well, in a second we're going to cut to our good friend Spiro, who has WA UK YouTube channel, and he's going to tell us of a pretty hairy experience he had some 20 years ago. Now, because of the strict rules regarding and seen or mentioned on YouTube, we have decided to use a prop. So when you see Spiro with his it's not a it's just a stock from a replica. It is just a prop. There are no there are no arms, there are no whatsoever in this segment. Here we are, as promised. We've got a good friend of mine, Mr. Spiro, and he's going to tell us about an encounter he had some years ago, very close to where we are. Before we start, Spi, do you want to give us a quick bio on yourself? Let the people know who you are, what you do, and how you know me. The floor's yours, mate.
Certainly. Right, so I've known Leon for, well, since we were kids really, since we were teenagers, late teenagers, 14, 15 years old. I've been kind of used to the outdoors and out in the outdoors since I was very young, growing up in a Greek family. And pest control has always been kind of at the top of my hobby list. Nowadays it's gone down a few notches, although I still do it. I still own farms. I still do quite a lot of pest control in the local area. More so now, I run a channel called Wilderness Adventures UK, where we focus on a lot of outdoor activities, camping, bushcraft, vehicle camping. As you can see, the vehicle is probably all set up. Yeah, we do vehicle camping and we do hammocking, ground dwelling, stuff like that on the channel. I do love the outdoors. I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, and a lot of it, as you would imagine, I sleep outdoors, so a lot of it is at night time.
Yeah, so you know greenhorns are being out in the dark, on your own, in the middle of nowhere.
Definitely
basically,
not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is not just some gentleman who sits behind his computer tip-tap-tapping and talking about it. This is a person who actually does it. You would have seen him on my channel as well, in the background and doing bits of the camera. No nonsense chappy. So, tell us roughly when it was, time of year, and just give us the full crux of it. What happened? So,
okay, so it was probably about 20, maybe 22 years ago. My son was just very young at the time, and I'd arranged to go out and do some rabbit control on a farm that's not too far away from here, probably a mile as the crow flies. And at the bottom of the farm there's a railway track running along. I do believe Leon's had reports of some sightings in the general area, probably maybe 400 or 500 yards away. In fact, it is that close. So the field in question is sandwiched between a country lane that doesn't see much traffic, although it does see traffic, and as I say, a railway track on the other side. And the rabbits were down at the bottom. The field kind of dips down to the bottom and drops down, as most of them do, to the railway line. Yeah, I crossed the country lane. It's sling over my back. Bearing in mind I'm going out controlling rabbits, so I have got a very powerful light that could probably shine 400, maybe 500 yards away. And I have got me to gut any rabbits and prepare any rabbits, because nothing goes to waste. So I climb over the fence into the field, and the field's freshly been harvested. It was either barley or wheat, and for those of you who don't know, when you crop and when you harvest such crops, it leaves, it's called stubble, and it's about 3 or 4 inch of hay basically sticking out the ground. And when you walk on this stubble, it crunches, it makes a crunching noise. So I'd got 200-300 yards into the field, halfway let's say, down to the railway track, and I'm walking on the stubble as you do, and I'm obviously making crunching noises, trying to be as silent as possible so I can get close to my quarry. And I can hear something crunching out a sink behind me. I think it was behind me, I'm pretty sure it was behind me. So I stop and I hear a crunch, 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 and then it stops. I was like, that's funny. I didn't see anybody get in the field behind me. Obviously it's 2 o'clock in the morning, it's very, very quiet. There's no vehicles on the road at this time in the morning. So it's your imagination playing tricks on you, like you do. So I set off again and I start taking my steps and I'm crunching. And then 3 seconds later, the crunching starts behind me again. Again, I think it was behind me. It's very hard when you're in an open field to kind of navigate and hear where the noises are coming from.
Yeah.
So at this point I'm thinking, okay, it wasn't my imagination, there is something with me in the field. So I turn around, put the light on, which I didn't do the first time because I didn't want to spook anything, because it is a very, very bright light. And I spin round and I look around me, I'm away from the hedgerows, and this thing sounds like it's close. It's not, you know, it's not 50, 60 yards away, it's on top of me. So I spin round, fingers hovering over the trigger, thinking, there's something there, I'm going to have it. Unless obviously it's just a human or something. So I spin round and there's nothing there. It's your imagination. That little voice appears at the back of your head telling you you're being irrational and, you know, you're crazy, or you're just hearing things. Stop being daft. Anyway, it happened 3 or 4 times, to the point of I got quite close to the railway lines. I'm that irate and spooked now that I pointed the at the floor and I set off back to the car. And I hot-tailed it back to the car, got in the car and went home. And my son's mother, who I was with at the time, turned around to me and says, "You're back early, did you not see out?" I says, "No, I didn't, I definitely didn't see out." And I explained to her and she said, "That is very, very strange." And to this day it remains a mystery, because although there was something there with me, I never saw, I had definitely heard something, but I never saw, smelled or anything else. It was the strangest encounter I've ever had. And until recently, you know, when I was with Leon's friends, I met Leon's friends for the first time, I just dismissed it, but there was definitely something spooky happening that night.
Yeah. A couple of questions. Were you being an adequate hunter and the person who's more than capable of knowing what a deer looks like and sounds like? Would you say it was on 2 feet, or would you say it was on 4 feet?
I'd definitely say it sounded more like it was on 2 feet.
Yeah.
And its steps were very similar to a human.
Human feet.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like a child who takes double the amounts of steps of an adult. It was an adult. It was more or less mimicking my footsteps, but out of sync, so I
it's
could
about
hear it.
at least your size.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
If you could have seen it, it would have been at least.
yeah.
And there were no smells, no.
No
Can you
sounds,
remember what the weather was like? Was it a full moon? Was it windy? Was it?
Do you know, I can't remember. I mean, rule of thumb is you always kind of go out when there's a slight breeze, just so you've got the wind in your face and you can stalk your quarry.
Yeah.
So you always have the wind in your face. So there will have been a slight breeze. I can't remember. I mean, it was summertime. It may have been June or July, because it's harvest time. That's what harvest time is here in the UK. But yeah, I can't remember much more. It had been dry, obviously, because the stubble was crunching. It wasn't soggy. So I'm guessing it was good weather. But yeah, I can't remember what the moon was doing, or you know, if yeah, it was quite a while ago.
Yeah, yeah. That's acceptable. And to finish off, do you honestly believe that this happened, or it was all in your mind, or are you like on the fence with it, even though you do follow the things I do? I know you're very sceptical of things and you're not led very easily, but for something like this to happen to yourself.
I am very sceptical because, as I said, from an early age, I'm almost 50 now, and this happened when I was probably in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything. That's why I remain sceptical.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm a firm believer. Anybody who knows me and knows me personally will say, you know, unless I see something with my own eyes, I don't believe it. I could go into all sorts of things on the Unch channel, but I don't think it's appropriate. But yeah, I'm still a little bit sceptical, but it definitely happened. I gave it enough, you know, I must have given it half a dozen chances to kind of filter out in my mind, and I kept telling myself, you're imagining it. Yeah. There's nothing there. You'd see it if it was there. But there was something there that night, 100%. You know, you don't just hear footsteps.
That close as well.
That close. Crunching as well, you know, it's not as if... And I definitely don't think it was something quite big, because I dare say, you know, a deer's hooves or a fox, we have red foxes here in the UK, it's not going to make as much noise as a bigger mammal, as something bigger on 2 feet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yes, I do believe in things, but until I see it with my own eyes and I witness it with my own eyes, I will remain a little bit. But that night definitely did freak me out to the point of no shots fired, back to the hedgerow, back in the slip, over the shoulder, over the fence, as quick as I could, you know, almost a sprint. It was like a quick march. Sling it into the back of the vehicle. No, I'm going home. Lights on full beam all the way home.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you, I'd have been doing the same. So yeah, thanks for filling us all in with that little scary adventure of yours.
If it happened tomorrow, I dare say I would stay out a little bit longer and try and investigate it a little bit more, especially if I had my hunting rig with me. Especially if I had my hunting rig with me, I can't stress that enough. There's a deer over in the field, just there, between the 2 trees.
Yeah.
And that goes to show how quick I am at spotting quarry. So that couldn't have been timed better, could it?
Looking across the field now.
Yeah, hopefully he'll get that on one of the cameras he's got set up.
It's a good size, that.
But that's how good I am at spotting things in fields and quarry. I've done it for a long time.
The guy knows what he's on about.
So yeah, I mean, it has left me a little bit with a bit of taste in my mouth. But yeah, as I say, if it did happen nowadays, I'd probably pursue it, especially if I had my rig and I was tooled up, as it were.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did leave me a little bit spooked, and a firm believer.
Cool. Right, thanks for that. Let's carry on and catch you guys in a sec. Cheers.
Has anything paranormal ever followed you all?
Me?
Not cryptid, but...
Well, I have had some run-ins paranormal-wise, ghosts. I've seen a spirit. I've seen a shadow person. Well, it wasn't really a full person. It was probably about, where's the camera? About this shoulder and an arm. And that's when I was a little kid. I could tell you about it if you want to hear it. We had a building in town in Blackpool, and it's hard to explain what it was. It was like a corner plot, and there was like 4 terraced houses down one side and 6 down the other, and then a big flat roof built over it. So you had old terraced houses that were over 800 year old that had all been knocked. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot easier if we just quickly have a listen to Naomi Finn reading out the actual encounter. As you just watched, that was myself and the good people on D.A. Roberts' show, Deus Ex Machina. I first told this encounter on there a couple of years back, and since then Naomi Finn of the YouTube channel Own to Doubt has re-edited it, re-polished it, and made it a lot more, how can we say, understandable. So we're gonna quickly have a listen to the mind-bending, creepy story that happened to me when I was just a little boy.
I turned 6 in 1983. I don't know the exact time of year, but I do remember it was a hot day. More than likely, it was during summer holidays from school because my parents were divorced and I was staying with my father in Kirkham, Lancashire. My father worked in the family business and sometimes I would go work with him. My grandfather had a flourishing business in Blackpool, Lancashire. He was a bit strange, but he was a fantastic businessman. I suspect that he might have been considered to be in the autism spectrum today, but back then that sort of thing didn't really exist. The business was furniture retail. In those days, Blackpool was known as the Las Vegas of England. As such, it was packed with thousands of little hotels and boarding houses. My grandfather's store was on the corner of George Street and Victory Road. Terraced houses down one side of the street, and several more down the other corner had been gutted to make one big warehouse about the size of 2 football pitches on 2 levels. My grandfather employed a couple of salesmen, delivery drivers, fitters, and van lads, as well, of course, as my father and my uncle. On most days, because my grandfather was diabetic, he would go home before everyone else. Once he was gone, everyone would relax a bit, and the atmosphere became less formal. On the day in question, it must have been after 4 o'clock. I was bored and hungry and wanting to go home. The delivery drivers had just returned, so being a bored 6-year-old, I invited the van lads to play a game of hide-and-seek. I was the owner's grandson, so they weren't going to say no. I didn't realize at the time, but it was really just a way to be rid of me for 10 or 15 minutes. I made them close their eyes and count to 100 before running off to find the perfect hiding spot. I went straight upstairs to hide among the stock. There were hundreds of pieces of oddly shaped furniture and mattresses stacked up all over the place, providing countless places to hide. The obvious choice would have been inside one of the wardrobes, but I wanted to make it hard for them because I was a little shit. One of the storerooms was full of single mattresses standing on end where they would be easy to collect. Most people who purchased single mattresses tended to take them away in their own vehicles rather than wait for a delivery. The room was about the size of an average dining room with hundreds of mattresses stored on their ends against the walls, rather like huge dominoes waiting to be knocked down, but without the gap. My cunning plan was to pull apart some of the mattresses and squeeze my skinny little body into the gap and letting them close around me. I wasn't a big fan of this part of the building. Nobody was. It was always cold and musty smelling. The room sat at the end of a small corridor. There was a light, but turning it on would have given away my hiding place. A little bit of daylight streamed in through the room's lone window, which kept it from being pitch black, but it was still dark enough I would have used the flashlight on my phone to navigate, if cell phones existed back then. To my mind, it was the best hiding place in the building. I ventured inside and began looking for the best place to squeeze between the mattresses. I found a small gap about the size of a Coke can and put both arms in all the way up to my elbows, prizing open a space large enough to climb inside. As I did this, I could see the back wall on the other end of the mattress. It was just a white painted flat wall. Suddenly, a blackish-gray hand came from the wall and straight at my face, grabbing at me. It looked solid. I could see veins, fingernails, even the creases on the knuckles. I'm sure it was connected to a wrist and arm, but I have no idea how long the arm was. I fell backwards, screaming. From the moment I pulled the mattresses apart to the demonic hand grabbing for me and me falling backwards screaming was probably no more than a couple of seconds. But it was so solid I was sure it was going to get my face. It looked like it had reached me, but I never felt a thing. I lay there on my back in shock and terror for just a second before springing up and running back downstairs to where the van lads were still counting. Their counting turned to laughter when they saw I had wet myself. The time it took me to leave the van lads counting on the main floor and run up to the mattress room, wedge open a place to hide, see the hand, fall backwards onto the floor, jump up and run back downstairs. They had not even reached 90 yet. No one knew where I was going to hide. No one was faster than me. No one could have snuck up the stairs behind me to play a trick on me. I know what I saw, and I stand by my words forever.
The Black Beast of Dagger Road. What is the Black Beast of Dagger Road? Well, it goes back some years. That far back that Goes back before the invention of the internal combustion engine, where people would walk everywhere, or on the horses and the carts. There's a pub I'm going to show you now. That's the Hand and Dagger. At the side of that pub is the road called Dagger Road. That's where it gets its name from, the Black Beast of Dagger Road. The pub itself is right on the edge of the Lancaster Canal. We know about canals on this channel, and waterways, and these strange creatures, the cryptids that use the waterways to get around. So, this beast was probably about the size of a donkey. It would terrorise people walking home from the pub late at night, chase them through the fields, knock people off the horses. It was just an absolute nightmare of an animal. Huge, great big black thing, almost as big as a horse. People have said it was the size of a calf or the size of a donkey. You're probably wondering why we're in this woodland. Well, just behind that camera there is Dagger Road. This woodland runs along the side of Dagger Road. It's an ancient beastie, would you say? But we've got to find a place to start and look around. Don't know what's inside this woodland. There could be anything in here. There could be a burial mound or anything hidden in here. There's got to be something in here, because there's nowhere else for this thing to hide or to materialise from. It's everything else around is just farmlands and fields. So this is the woodland I was in a couple of days ago, where everything went mad in here. The birds up in the trees, the ravens, the buzzards, everything went ape shit. This place has got weird all of a sudden. That's where I was just sat there. Everything was great until I standed up and started walking around. When them birds all kicked off. He's not bothered. Not a lot he could do anyway, he's about 13 years old. There again, I could hear something again. It's definitely someone. I've just got... Oh, I didn't. Definitely someone else in here. Or something else. Can you zoom in with it? You can zoom in. The fucking hell was it? Da. Hello? Hello? What the fucking hell? Sorry for my language. Oh, guys, I think I'm gonna have to... If I suddenly go, it's because I've got a sharp implement in my hand and I don't want to show it on here. There's a big like rhododendron brush over that side. I can hear something in there as well. What was I saying? Well, knocked me off kilter then. Yeah, this strange, beastly, massive black dog apparently used to chase people before cars. Used to chase people on horses and horseback and things. And as we were saying earlier on, that's the road the far so you can see through there. I don't know if you can see, there's a hedge through all that lot. Squirrels or something up there. It's just knocked me off, oh god. Like a tent. Is that a tent or something like that? It is a tent. That's someone's camp. Or what's left of someone's camp. Jeez. You gotta keep your eyes up in these trees as well. Look, I keep wanting to look over there. I've been this freaked out in daylight for a long time. Right. Where's my knife gone? Right. Sorry guys, we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go. I'm gonna get back to you again. I'm not walking through all that lot without anything in my hand. I turned round to look, and through the gaps in the tree, let's try and zoom in, there is a branch, pretty thick branch growing left and right through that gap where you can see the light. Something was stood there. Now at first I thought it was a human being. When I realised I'd walked past that branch and it only came up to about here, because I was carrying the dog at the time and I had to bend down on it. Try to find that branch. There it is. So whatever it was stood here where I am. Like I said, that branch doesn't go very, it's not high. And I've checked all over the ground. Nothing whatsoever. So I couldn't tell you if it went one way or the other, but I can tell you one thing, it shit me up. I didn't have any tools with me, I had no cutlery, I had nothing. It was just me and the dog and the phone, and we were doing a live on TikTok. So what I had to do is cut the live short, and instead of going back out that way, we had to go over this into that field along the side there, because it was just not to be trifled with, especially when you've got no weapons on you whatsoever. So this is the new road that's linking the M55 motorway to the A583. The A583 is one of the main roads that runs between Preston and Blackpool. And the M55, which it connects to, is the motorway that's running from the M6 towards Blackpool. It is something that we've needed around here for many and many a year. I've got no problems with a road being built on Greenland. It's got to be done. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for it. What I'm thinking, and what could be some kind of an idea, is while they're building this road, and this road is under construction, is it possible that they've disturbed some ground that's ancient and sacred in some kind of way? I don't know. Like the boggart that looks after the wheat and corn. It makes you wonder why this creature hasn't been heard of and seen for many and many years, and over the last 3 or 4 years since they started construction on this road, I'm getting reports of sightings of a huge black beast. We've managed to give it a name of some reports, and the name we're using, as we've already said, is the Black Beast of Dagger Road. If you look on this map now, you can see there's the new road where we are stood now, and the Hand and Dagger pub, which is on the corner of Dagger Road, is within jogging distance. In fact, it's within walking distance. So there is a possibility that ground has been disturbed in a way to set off some kind of paranormal phenomenon. It's something we've got to think of. There's a way of checking the old maps, possibly checking some ley lines that might run through here. It's just a theory of mine, and it's something that we've got to put into practice and look into and try and investigate it. So, as you can see, it's within days of being opened. Just 2-3 years ago, it was just farmers' fields here. This bridge didn't even exist. But they're well on the way with it. And we'll see in the future what else is spotted around here with regards to the cryptozoology part of it. There's weird, strange animals that are hanging around. We're just going to see how we get on. So there could be a possible connection between the construction of the road and the sightings of this huge black beast that goes back hundreds of years. When you look at the big picture, we really have, to this day, we still have no idea really what these creatures are, whether they are flesh and blood, whether they are from another dimension, whether they're spiritual. We don't really know. In this game, there's no experts, and if somebody wants to come forward and say they're an expert, they're not. They don't exist. There's people who get out there and get their hands dirty and their feet shit up like I do, and there's people who sit on the computers and regurgitate the same old rubbish. But like I said before, and I'll say it a million times again, Why are these creatures being seen near water? Why are they being seen near railway lines? What are they really using all that for? And then again, if it's not a real flesh and blood creature, why does it need to be seen? Why does it need to use those avenues of moving around the country? You know? So are we dealing with two separate things? Are we dealing with something that is real, touchable, tangible, that leaves prints? On this channel we found prints the size of my hand, the size of my foot. I'm a size 9, UK size. If it was a mystical creature, it wouldn't leave a print, would it? But then again, how does it just disappear to nowhere? Like my interaction I had a couple of years ago when I was out camping and I was growled at by one of the strangest noises I've ever heard in my life. Where this little sound recorder was sat, if we haven't been dreaming and it's not all in our heads, this has picked it up. And it's going to be bloody interesting if it is. We're looking at about 3:30 this morning. Still dark. At the north end of our camp, where the land runs out and drops into the river, I heard one of the strangest noises. Now, I was either asleep and I dreamed that I heard this noise, but it seemed that real that I woke up and grabbed my phone out my sleeping bag and began to film, because I'm a tent set up. I'll show you in a minute. There's no waterproofing over it. The waterproof is the tarp. If you look, I can see all the way around 360. See if anything's sneaking up. But yes, this noise, it was like, have you been to the circus or the zoo and a big cat will go but you feel the noise, it's weird. I sat there all night clinging onto my machete waiting for daylight to get out and check for prints, and there was nothing there, nothing at all. But this creature was there. It did make a sound because I caught it on audio, and it's on my channel. It's there for everyone to hear and listen to. So looking around, especially this place, after I've been freaked out in here just the other day, definitely as a spiritual, magical type feeling to it. It's you know, you could just sit down and have a lovely picnic, but it wasn't like this last week, I can assure you. When I saw that creature, or that thing, whatever it was, stood over there next to that branch. Also, while we're on the subject of mystical creatures and magical beings, the story of the werewolf. The werewolf, as we know it, is a human being who turns into a wolf and goes ravaging people. That's as old as time, and for ever since I started this channel, people have said, where's the evidence of this werewolf? Things die in the woods, in the fields, and you get a rotting carcass. yeah, it's very, very hard to find any huge carnivore rotting in the woods, even a bear, grizzly bear, black bear. It's very seldom that those skeletons are found. And then I had a bit of a light bulb moment, and it's going to sound a bit strange, but this channel is strange. That's the whole point of it. If this werewolf does get killed, dies in the woods attacking something else, we know from folklore that once it dies it turns back to a human. So the remains of a werewolf wouldn't be a werewolf, would they? They would be a human being. Which, get your head around that. It's a bit like the U-bend on a toilet, isn't it? You're never going to get your head around it. But yeah, it's a strange one. It's a good one. It's a way out one. But according to the folklores and ancient history, Peter Strump, he had a belt off the devil, put the belt on it, turned into a wolf, took the belt off, turned back to a human. He killed God knows how many people. And a bit quiet then. So yeah, there's something else to think about. The remains of said creature. Would it still be wolf? Would it still be a dog the size of a donkey or a bull? Would it still be an upright bipedal canine? Or would it just turn back to a human being and be a body found in the woods? There's lots of them found all over the world. You know, nobody really gives a hoot. Now, let's switch it up a gear. We're going to scoot across from my neck of the woods over to a good friend of mine, over to his manor. It's Mick McLaren's stomping ground of Winter Hill, and the rest of his team, the Winter Hill investigation team. A couple of weeks ago, Mick decided that we would have a look in this area. Around Tockholes. Doesn't matter which side of the map you look at. Most people will be used to looking at the Google looking image on the right. Now, in this woodland there has been umpteen different sightings of everything from UFOs, ghosts, upright walking canines, wild men, the whole kit and caboodle. In fact, just here, if we zoom in on the right, you'll be able to see coming into picture now some ruins of an old stately home type place. Now on the left there you can see its name, Hollinshead Hall. Here's the grounds of it. There's still a little building left, which is there. In this place. And we decided that we would go and have a look around this bit of the hillside here. So we was roughly around here. I do have a pin drop, but I don't want to leak the exact spot to anyone online. It's on the slopes of Winter Hill. Winter Hill's a massive chunk of land. But yeah, this is where we were. And we'll cut to a bit of nighttime excitement. Nick, have a look at this. There's a footprint here, but it's not a shoe. Just one in the middle of nowhere. There's cobwebs at the bottom of it, so it's been. You know, can you see the webs there?
That looks like a foot. Not a.
Oh no, without a shoe.
Foot without a shoe. It does actually.
There's none there. Can you see it?
And if you look at that end, you've got as though toes are squashing that bit down.
Yeah.
It sort of goes around. There. Yeah.
You can see toes
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
You can see toes there. 3.
Yeah.
Getting some photos, oh, you've got your cameras.
Filming it. But you see, they've grown up.
Yeah,
In it as
yeah,
well.
it's been there a bit, but that does look like toes. And it's long rather than fat.
Yeah, it's like
Skinny foot, but
It's like one of our Johns.
that's what size would you say that is in a shoe size?
It's got to be over, I bet it's 11 that, isn't
Because
it?
that's way
It's got to
bigger
be
than
11
me.
now. I'm 10s. What are you?
I'd say 11,
Nines.
size 11.
how thin it is though.
It's the thinness, isn't it? But
You can definitely see.
is that
there's a
over
ridge
time because
with-
there's water around here? Has it pushed it together?
There's not another one, is there?
No, I've looked all over. I didn't want to shout at you until I found it, and it's just that.
That is thin, isn't it?
Yeah, just that.
There's always one though, there's always just one if you know.
Yeah. Why does that always happen?
It's a right foot as well,
Yeah.
so there should be left foots.
So there's nothing. There's no more that way. I've checked up there. I don't know. Do you know what it reminds me of? When I see that. Do you remember Skinwalker Ranch? And they saw a window opening in the sky, and it stepped out.
Yeah.
And something stepped out and stepped onto the ground. But with that shadow there, you can see toes in there.
It's them toes. Yeah, you can see the toes.
Barefoot, but it's like as long as a size 10, but as thin as a size 4.
Strange it being thin.
It's them two, it's the toes won't
Yeah.
get me on that. The toe marks.
That looks that looks like more like a hoof.
Yeah,
It
with the
lumps up-
middle.
it lumps up
yeah,
here.
he does. The U-bend in the middle.
Yeah. No.
You're thinking it.
Well, it looks as though it would be going this way. But from... Well, there's really... There should be something over there.
That's coming that way down.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There should be something over there.
If it's running, the next print might be over here.
The thing is,
Yeah,
if
if
it's
you
not
get-
that long, you don't know how tall it is.
Yeah. The length of its legs.
That's got girly feet.
Yeah.
Be another rake.
Stood there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just fucking. They don't make any sense at all. walk up this damn hill, and a good half an hour trying to find the exact spot where it was. We found the footprint. This is 24 hours later. Excuse me a minute. We're going to take a plaster cast of this beastie. I'll show you on this camera here. There's the heel, a break in the foot like a crest, and then toes coming. We're hoping that we're going to pick up toes in that front there. In the daylight it doesn't look as prominent, but yeah, we'll just get as much debris out of it as we can. I don't want to move any sides of it or anything. There's going to be plant matter stuck in it. But yes, cut this off. Luckily we're right outside of a water source, able to use stream from here and the plaster Paris there, and let's try and get some kind of imprint of it. Might have to do it in 2 stages, I don't know. Let's have a see. Nature stirring stick. Try and get as many lumps out of it as we can. Get a bit more in. Let's go for the whole pack. We'll take all this rubbish back with us. So yeah, the film you just watched in the dark was 24 hours ago. We were up here with Nick and the rest of the WIT team, Winter Hill Investigation team, and whilst we were out, this is what we found. Bear in mind it was absolutely pitch black, so we really struggled to get a good look at it. All we can do now is wait. But if you look back down on it, you can see the length of what we were talking about in the video just before. It's as long as a size, well, it looks like a 12 now, and as wide as a 4. So we'll give that God knows how long to dry. Right, we've been waiting around now for about 40 minutes, hopefully it's going to be set. Let's go and have a see. Feels pretty hard all the way to the bottom. Oh, there's a crack, must be really thin there. cracked a bit there. But that's alright, we can get... That's not the end of the world. The front bit. You just have a close look at that, I'll just get a bag to put it in. Oh yeah, we're racing against time really, because we've both got to be back at work at 2 o'clock and it's 1:45 now. We've got to travel all the way back to almost Blackpool, and we're on the slopes of Winter Hill. Hopefully there's no problems in traffic, so we've got it. Let it dry off perfectly solid, and we'll have a closer look at it in a second.